Okay, so what are we, about a week and a half ago? So we pushed through an update into Projector, yeah, a week and a half ago, something like that. Now this update's just about all of it is back-end sort of stuff. So it's really designed around assisting mostly the Australian government and hopefully Queensland government into the future in how managing projects works, particularly around the landscape repair projects, which you need to provide evidence of sediment saved to be able to generate your milestone payments and all that sort of stuff. So front page of Projector. So if you want to work out when that actually happened, there's a support tab and then the change log. So if we open up the change log, so there we go, November 1st, so 18 days ago, it was pushed through, so other came through, and then governance and review stuff. So that's sitting there. This recording we're doing right now will move across into the tutorial section when we, so it'll be saved here as a video, moved into the tutorial section for future reference. Okay, so as far as what's changed for you guys, if I jump back over into Projector and open it up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a collection that I opened earlier. So there's some governance stuff that's changed, and then there's a new project type color other. But first I'll go through the governance one. So this is a project that I loaded up that I've created before. It's a cane project and it's just getting some example funding now. Okay. So if I go back into this one, go back into now. So first really cool change for you guys that will hopefully help people is there is now a search address function here. So if I put in the address here, 25 Yeppoon Road, Parkhurst, I can navigate exactly to where my office is. So I'm in Rocky, and this is the DPI office just outside of Rocky. So hopefully that's a semi-useful feature for people, the address search bar there. Okay, if I go back to the project, so I've already entered this project in just at South Johnson Research Station if you're looking for where this is. So this part here remains the same. On the project details tab here, you see there's slight changing in the wording here. So we have works complete, that was complete, now says works complete. It means the same thing. There's now this maintenance complete status as well. So this here will be, you'll be told by, I guess, your project manager. It's really, at this stage, the only projects that I'm aware of that this is a requirement is the landscape repair program with DECU. Everything else is just as far as works complete. So if your projects do go further on into maintenance stage, then that's where you'll come through and you'll move them into maintenance. So this all will remain the same. The surveys remain the same, so none of those will have changed here. So therefore, because the surveys and stuff changed, none of the numbers, the back-end calculations have changed at all in it. What is new for all project types is there's this new tab here, governance and review. So this tab here was only on the stream and gully project types in the past, and now it's available. Now it's on all project types. For most projects, so if we go into it, for most projects it's not going to be used. It might be used in some incentive sort of projects if there's, grants and that sort of stuff. It could be used in the future, but for most projects it's not going to be used at this stage. Again, your project manager from Australian or Queensland government would be the person to talk to about that. So on this tab here, the first page here gives you some stats about the project. So if you have a project cost, you can get the cost effectiveness of it. You can see the savings in terms of sediments, runoff, drainage din, total din. This is for a cane project. So obviously if it was a grazing one, these would be just sediment and that sort of stuff. So that's there. There's a governance tab. So if this, for your landscape repair projects, if this is one of the projects that gets submitted as part of the current invoicing round, you'll see whether it's been received or not here. You can back and forth through it. Evidence required is a new tab here. So again, it was about this one, so you can upload evidence. It was only in your Streambank and your Gully projects. It's now available in all project types. Now I've gone into the back end and set it up for this project type, so it does appear here. Now if I had turned this off, it wouldn't appear, so you wouldn't have this option. So it depends on how the funding is set up by the funder. So Jess from DECU, if she's gone into the back end and set up, the reflows farming project in the wet tropics in a particular way and said, okay, I want to have at completion, I want to have, photos, final reports, whatever in here, it will appear here as a checkbox, and this is where you'll upload it. So you'll have the attachment here, you'll hit that, it'll open up. You open up a file and you'll be able to upload that in there. You're going to provide some additional information like, hey, all the photos are in the zip file or whatever sort of you want to have in there. You can link projects as well, which is a function we added that's been around for some time in the Gully and Streambank project types, but you're probably not going to use this often in most other projects. Now, the last tab here is the review tab. I just skipped over that because what this one is about is that the review functionality in Projector is now a request rather than a push. So if the funder wants a review of a particular project, they can push through a request. So what I've done is I've gone to this project here already, and I've logged into the test review group, and I've requested a review for this. So it comes up here with the request review. If I hit submit there, it'll send it to that test review group. There's some stuff here, and I can comment with it. So I can say, hi, will upload photos next week, something like that. So it'll sit there as comment as that. So review, like I said, it's now a request from the funder rather than a push from the other way. So that's a little bit different to what it was. Perceptions of practice tab remains the same as well, and you'll see here that because this got a little red arrow on it, the governance review, it turns red because that request was sitting there, and there was a header there that said there's a request needed. I believe everybody in this group gets an email as well. So if a request is submitted and you're in, ABGC's group, for example, if one of the projects, the review is submitted into that group, every member of that group will get an email saying, hey, we want to have a review of there's a project, the review has been requested for one of your projects. Okay, I think that's the main thing on this here. I think that's the main thing on this. Oh, so the only other thing here is that sometimes the required evidence can be conditional. So what I'll do here is I'll go through and I'll just put in here that we're going to spend $55,000 on earthworks into this project here. So sometimes, depending on the funding, there may be conditional requirements for different things. So we're going to say we're spending $55,000 on earthworks here. When we go back to the governance, back to the required evidence tab, we've got this new one here, which is a quote. So for the big project there, the funder may set up and say, hey, for things where you're going to spend a significant amount of money on a particular area in that initial budget there, we may want a quote, or we may want, detailed site plans or whatever it may be on that sort of thing. So that may appear as well. So there'll be some conditional things in on it as well. Okay, so that's how most things work. That's how these work. So for most things, it's not going to, most projects that are running now, apart from landscape repair projects, this governance and review tab is more out of interest for you. If you do want to upload stuff, you can. Otherwise, it's, you know, you get some summary stats here that may be of interest to you guys, and that'll be about it, I would say.
Adam, do you want to mention under the information section, you can now submit your collection for P2R reporting?
Oh, yes.
It's got a reminder there now for everyone.
Yep, that's right. So what we've also changed. So yeah, if you go to the information, which gives you the setup of it, we now have a big new box here, submit for P2R reporting. In the past, there was a process to get to it, and it was a bit hidden and that sort of stuff. So we've actually brought that forward, and then, you know, when you do submit it, it date stamps it. So if I submit it to this example, submit it there, submit it to this. Oh, I don't have it back in. So you still have to have the sites completed before you submit them. So if I go through and I submit this to this, it date stamps it, says it's submitted. So it gives you a time when that's done. But the other change that's here is, it's still read only. There you go. But you can still get to it. It'll still appear in your thing. So it gives you a date stamp for it there. Okay, so the other project type that's come through is other. So the other project type is other. So this is one that I've set up here. So when I've set this project up, I've listed it as other. So at this stage, other is a bit of a catch-all. So I've put that in there for things that we don't have it in there. So we can't calculate savings from other, but sometimes we want to have things reported. So set this one up, and I've entered a project in here. So this is a re-veg site that we're doing here out the back of the office here. Imaginary re-veg site here. So re-veg, this all looks the same in other. The functionality of this, you know, location summary, drawing it in and then adding your project details in, all looks the same, all functions the same. The survey tab is obviously different. So we've got some pre-canned project types here. So horticulture, constructed wetlands, that sort of stuff. This one should be a re-veg one. And then we've got an other function here. So if it doesn't fit in here, you can put it in and say it might be, let's call this one weed control, for example. You can enter that one in. And if you do have some estimations, say, I don't know, you've got some monitoring data for a wetland or something like that, some inflow and outflow data for a wetland, you might be able to put in some savings in there. If you do have that, you can put it in as interest. Probably the thing to note for this is that even though it goes into here, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will make it through into the report card and be publicly reported as savings. So we're going to say weed control, we're going to leave this as sediment as nothing. Save that down so that it does save. And then what will be really important for other project types is uploading some additional evidence, some required evidence in there. So if you are putting in a re-veg site, you may want to make sure you upload some photos or a site plan or something like that. So stuff that we in the future, we have some information that we may be able to model it. So an example is wetlands. There's some work happening now to try and build a wetland model. We'll hopefully have one in a few years' time. But we know that work will probably commence on repairing wetlands and doing work around wetlands before we actually get to a point where we have a functioning model. So what we want to be able to do right now is capture that the work's happened and capture some information about that work that's happened. So we'll be wanting people to upload their detailed plans of the wetland and all that sort of stuff. So that's how it will happen into this one. I think that's kind of covered everything. Is there anything that you think that I may have missed?
You'll see that because yours is only showing for complete, I guess, because your project's completed. But if your project was like in draft stage, it would show you all the other stages where evidence might be required, like draft, in progress, works complete, maintenance complete sections.
Yeah, well, that's going to depend on how the projects are set up.
It's set up,
So,
yeah, by your
so
funder.
so if your funder requires evidence to come through when it goes to in progress, and then when it gets complete, and then when it goes maintenance. So landscape repair program is a good example of that. It has required evidence all the way through those. You'll have different bars here. So this collapsed down. So if I had requirements for maintenance and in progress, they would all appear here, and you would have a section to upload for each one of those.
Yeah.
But I've just gone in and set this back end up like just for complete.
Yeah, which will probably be the most case for most projects, but yeah, your more complicated ones might have additional evidence requirements at different stages, but it'll be clearly laid out there. But I think the queue might need a little bit of time to action this still, so it might not be showing for your projects yet. Give them a little bit of time, I guess, to make the updates for, what is it, the landscape repair program, reef-wise farming program so far.
Yeah, and same thing for the Queensland government programs. A lot of those won't be set up properly just yet either. So, yeah, hopefully in coming few weeks, everything will be set up nicely and that sort of stuff. So I guess if you're unsure at this stage, contact, your project manager in the Australian or Queensland government, whoever it is, and they'll be able to give you some guidance and that stuff.
Yeah, and you can have that conversation with your funder under the if you click on your project, go to the governance tab, you can have that conversation with your funder there if you like.
Yep.
Makes it easier. All in one spot.
That's it. Okay. So I'm gonna, do you want to stop recording?